This is the February 25th North Bend Planning Commission meeting at 7:05. I am Scott Greenberg. I'm vice chair. Let's do a roll call. So Susan Torgerson.
Here.
Judy Blanco.
Here.
Olivia Moe. Well, we lost Olivia, so we lost our quorum. So we're going to have to wait till Olivia gets back on.
But she just got bumped off. And
She got bumped off.
There she is.
Oh.
okay.
Oh. Olivia, are you here?
She's on mute.
Olivia, can you unmute and tell us you're present? Okay, well, since this is all electronic, we'll say that Olivia is present because she is showing up here on the Teams list of people. So given that, we have a quorum. So the members that are not present are Chair Gary Tao, James Bovers, Heather Bush, who I believe Heather will be joining us shortly. But since we do have a quorum, we're gonna keep moving. All right. All right. So we have. Sorry, I'm looking at the screen on Zoom or on Teams, and also looking at my agenda. Opportunity for public comment on non-agenda items. So is there any public comment on items that are not on our agenda tonight? Go ahead and unmute yourself and tell us you would like to speak. Anybody? Okay. All right, seeing none, we will move on to the next item. Approval of agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I move that we approve tonight's agenda. This is Susan.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved by Susan Torgerson, Commissioner Torgerson, seconded by Commissioner Blanco to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. And Commissioner Moe, are you still there? Can you talk with us?
Does somebody have the ability to unmute her?
Let me look here and see if she is not on mute. Yeah, she's not on mute, so.
Okay, what I
mute on my end. If I look at Olivia's name, it looks as though she's on mute, which is unusual.
Yeah.
Okay, let me look here. I do not have that option. I can mute the participant, but I cannot do anything.
no, unmute.
We don't have total power.
Yeah, so Olivia, if you can hear us, you're still on mute. Okay, I would like to put that motion aside for a moment. Well, I guess we have 3 of the 4 of us approving the agenda, so I think we could probably move on.
Olivia emailed saying she's not on mute and she can hear us, but we can't hear her for some reason.
Oh,
Okay.
this is weird.
Well, it's going to be important to hear her for any voting we have, and if she has questions.
Yeah, let's go ahead and wait. Let's see if she can log back out and try and log back in so that we can move forward.
Yeah.
Because I agree.
That's where I was going to go next.
I could use this moment to make an announcement.
Hi, this is Heather.
Oh, good. Hi, Heather.
Hi.
I called in. Still not. I guess I need to download a newer version of Teams. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, this is Scott. Hang on the phone, so at least we have you for a quorum, and Olivia's going to re-sign in. She was, for some reason, she wasn't able to speak. She wasn't muted, so.
Okay.
Okay. Editorial comment. This is why I absolutely just test Microsoft Teams. Thank you very much. This is the only meeting I have that's on Teams. Everything else is on Zoom, and it works great. Just saying.
Scott, my husband, would disagree. This is a family discussion we have.
Okay.
I'm the Zoom and he's the Teams. So,
Hi, sorry
yeah.
guys. I don't know what happened. That was really weird. I could hear everything you guys were talking about at the festival. I'm outside, but you guys obviously couldn't see me.
Okay.
Yay,
Well-
you're here.
Oh, I think okay. I wanted to hang up.
Okay.
Oh, there's Heather.
Good. I don't know what that was. Okay.
Okay, Heather, you're on?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, and Olivia's there. All right. So we did approve the agenda, but I will let, if either of you have any comments on the agenda, I'm assuming you don't, but agenda okay with both of you, Heather and Olivia?
Sounds great.
Okay. All right. So now we will move to approval of minutes of the January 28th Planning Commission meeting. Are there any changes to that set of minutes? If none, is there a motion to approve the minutes of January 28th?
This is Commissioner Bush. I make a motion to approve the minutes for January 28th.
I'll
For a
second.
second. Okay, Commissioner Moe seconded. Correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. All right. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? No one's opposed. All right. We are moving through. Next item is the form-based code for downtown commercial zone. We'll have first start with the staff introduction, and then hold the public hearing, and then have planning commission deliberation. Question I have for staff, maybe you can address it during your presentation, is what exactly are you actually looking for a recommendation from us tonight, or just discussion? So you can address that during your presentation. Okay, is it Rebecca, are you going to start, or is Jesse?
So would you like another PowerPoint, or since you saw the PowerPoint, did you just want us to have a verbal staff report with what we discussed at the last meeting and what we've done?
Commissioners, are you okay with that suggestion? Verbal staff report and discussion of changes or mention of changes, and then maybe also mention the new graphics you sent out too. Is that okay with everybody?
That's fine with me.
Hearing no dissent, let's move along with that.
Okay, so then that will be me. First, I'd like to start off, answering Commissioner Greenberg, your question, along with an announcement. Tonight is just the public hearing. What we have slated on the schedule is for a recommendation to be made at the next meeting, March 11th. If that is to happen, then you are all invited by Mayor Robb to attend the March 23rd council work study, where this will be discussed. And staff is hoping for a planning commission, council. I mean, it's work study is mainly council, but if you are able to make it, then hearing your thoughts and input on what we're presenting tonight would be welcome.
Okay. Great.
And so staff tonight is presenting a form-based code for our downtown commercial zone. It's the first of its kind for the city. Form-based codes are a different type of code than the zoning code that we use in the city. The zoning code that we use in the city is fairly common within the United States. Its focus is segregating uses. So what kind of goes on inside the building, whereas form-based codes, the emphasis is more on the appearance and type of the buildings, its relationship to the street, other buildings, and to open spaces. And so it's not necessarily a change in intensity of the downtown commercial zone, but a change in how we review, and it kind of divides our downtown commercial zone into two different sections. And this was discussed amongst staff for a while, but what really got this effort going is a grant from the Washington State Department of Commerce to help increase options for affordable housing. And so this is a part of an affordable housing grant. We're going through the grant process right now, but the ultimate code that's ratified is up to your recommendation and council decision. So the grant aside, that isn't as much of the focus. So if you have your packets open, I will explain how this works. So much like our design standards, we have a standalone document that is referenced in a new section, section 1812. The downtown commercial zone content that's in 1810 right now is stricken. So in your packets, pages 17 through 73 are the stricken parts of 1810, as well as the new section of 1812 that references a regulating plan. And the regulating plan starts on page 74. And this was all presented to you at our last meeting, so I won't go into detail on everything that entails, but want to bring your attention to a couple items that were requested at the last meeting. So in packet page 6, there's one of the requests, and we'll go through all the requests that I had documented just after, but one of the requests was to outline the differences in codes, the differences of content between what is in our downtown commercial zone currently and what is proposed to be in our form-based code. And so the bottom of page 6 outlines content that is in one code but not in the other. I didn't list all the things that overlap. So for the downtown commercial zone, there's currently an extensive list of permitted and conditional uses, as well as some bulk and dimensional standards that do not exist in the proposed code. And then in the proposed code, there is a brief list of permitted uses, 2 separate transects within the downtown commercial zone, one emphasizing the historic district, the areas that encompass the historic district and areas around it, as well as more a mixed use type of zone around that, as well as allowed, and within those zones, there's allowed frontage types, maximum residential unit size. So that through, I'll take a step back for a second, through public process, through comments that we received here, and through a survey that was conducted throughout the summer, we got a lot of feedback from the public about things that they do want and value and don't want in the downtown. And from that, we came to the decision that we weren't going to propose necessarily density increases to allow for more affordable housing. The route that we took was making a maximum square footage of unit sizes, as well as only allowing certain building types. So right now, with the vacant and redevelopable lands in our downtown commercial zone, they could be entirely redeveloped as single-family residential. But this zoning code has slightly more, I guess, multifamily units, a suite of multifamily unit building types that you could choose from. And so those were kind of the ways that we addressed affordable housing. We also have a local and collector street standard specific to the downtown commercial zone. Right now in our public works standards, there's only local and collector street standards for the city as a whole. So we wanted to present a standard that's more akin to the character of our downtown. Also, we have public open space standards, and there is a future location map that was added. And there is also an optional master planning provision for parcels that are greater than 2 acres. And so examples of those parcels would be where the QFC is right now, or if the Ace Hardware parcel was ever to redevelop, then if that was to redevelop, the developer would have the option of going through a master planning process. And so when we were presented the end of January to the Planning Commission, several comments were made.
Sorry.
No worries. We took note of the comments. I'm hoping I was comprehensive. If we missed some comments, then please let us know tonight. So the comments and actions taken start on page 7 and go to page 9. I won't, I feel like I've already done quite a lengthy introduction now, so I won't go through all of them unless you prefer me to do so. So we had an open public hearing, a public comment period. We got 3 comments. One of it was from an agency, the Department of Commerce, which is the department that is running the grant. And then we had 2 public comments, which were provided on pages 11 through 16. And that is it for my introduction. Please, I'm available to answer any questions or make any clarifications. Thank you. Commissioner Greenberg, you're muted.
Sorry, thanks. Do we have any questions for Jesse? There will be time after the public hearing also. Okay, seeing none. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on this item. And since we have just a few people on the call, I'm just going to call people by name. I don't know if you would like to speak at the hearing, and that's fine. If you're just here to listen, that's okay too. If you are going to speak for the hearing, there's a 3-minute limit for your comments, and then please start by giving us your name and address for the record. Okay, so we'll do in this order: Gina Clark, Rob Watton, Melissa, and Leroy Gant. I don't know if you're going to speak. Leroy is the consultant architect hired by the city. But we can start with Gina. Gina, you have the floor. Make sure you unmute yourself.
Thank you. Did it work?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Am I not a cat or a fish or anything? Is it? Okay.
I can't see you. I can just hear you. So.
Okay, good. I'm really waiting for that to happen. I really hope it happens in one of my meetings. I'm Gina Clark. I'm with the Master Builders Association, 335 116th Avenue Southeast in Bellevue. We haven't submitted written comments. We're going to submit some more in-depth written comments as this gets a little closer to council. I just wanted to, oh, and of course there goes my dog this evening as he got out. I just wanted to thank staff for their work and on the form-based code, as well as their work on the medium density zoning plan. We think this is exactly the way that cities should be going as they're trying to build more affordable housing. You know, some cities, they take a little more like the density approach to building more affordable housing, and other cities are taking this approach. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach, and we think North Bend has taken a really great approach with allowing for more multifamily housing and just some more housing choice and flexibility out there for what works for your city. So some smart moves here with the form-based code, some flexibility for design, and just really like the way that North Bend is going out here, and wanted again just to thank you for enabling us to be a part of the public input process starting from last summer, and congratulate you on the great work you're doing, and hopefully would like to continue to be part of the process in the medium density zoning plan work you're doing as well. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you. Next, Rob Watton.
Thank you, Commissioner Greenberg and commissioners. I'm Rob Watton with Umpqua Bank 146 West 2nd Street and a resident of Snoqualmie, for full disclosure. I've had the pleasure of hosting 4 separate affordable housing forums at Umpqua Bank over the past few years. And so there's a lot of things that we learned from these forums that we've held and had numerous nonprofit agencies, developers come in. And your form-based code is a step in the right direction. I think the biggest challenge is you've got 3 factors when it comes to affordable housing. The first is your zoning. The second piece is the will of the public. And the third is the willingness of partners to come in and actually build the structures. The other things that we've learned, critical mass is critical. And here's the reason why. Those that put affordable housing together, they need 50 units within a community, 50 to 100 to make it feasible. The second thing is density. And while we're very sensitive to the landscape here, we have to have more dense housing in order to keep costs down. And so I strongly encourage you to continue to pursue going to 3 stories in some of the structures, and the step backs are things that will help with that. And the last thing, and this is really the impetus behind it, and that's the mismatch between housing and jobs. We have between North Bend and Snoqualmie 6,000 local jobs, 4,000 people commute in for those jobs. And here's the other sudden reality, and that is if you travel into work in North Bend or Snoqualmie, you're 14 times more likely to be in a traffic accident, or there's 14 times more risk in dying in your commute to North Bend and Snoqualmie than in the workplace. And if you happen to be going over SR 18, it's over 30 times more likely. So there is a real need to make sure that we have affordable housing and greater diversity. And this is a step in the right direction. And I applaud your efforts and encourage you to carry on. Thank you very much. Okay,
thank you. Melissa had sent a message to us saying she was just here to listen. Is there anyone else who has not spoken at the hearing that would like to speak? Okay. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 7:28. And I will turn it back to staff.
So thank you. Obviously, we're here to answer any questions you have. I think the 2 items that came out of the last meeting that we really need answered for us to put together this final document for you guys to make your recommendation is, 1, we put the 2 height options. So what you guys are wanting to recommend so that we can insert the final decision into the document. And there was a little bit of a discussion about the allowable uses, prohibited uses. So we want to see if you're still comfortable with how we have it, or if you guys want to have, there was discussion at one point of having just going back to the full chart of allowable uses, or being more flexible with the generic description. So I think those were the 2 kind of outstanding items, but we're also here to listen to any new concerns or items you'd like to discuss.
Okay. So commissioners, let's talk about those 2 items. Why don't we start with height first? Is that okay with everybody, just to kind of keep us focused? Any thoughts on height? I know we have those great new, thank you for the new images. That helps, at least helps me understand a little bit better what the impact of an additional height might be. Commissioners, any thoughts on the height limits, 35 versus 45 feet, and the geographic location of where those height limits might end up?
Commissioner Belanco has a couple of thoughts and maybe a couple of questions to clear up. I just need to be maybe a little clearer on this, on the heights within the historic district. Is that something we can address here for a few minutes? In the historic district, I guess I'm assuming that that is our historic buildings downtown, that one block of the bakery, Tweets, that block to the end of Iron Duck, and then across the street, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so did we, those are at 35 feet, is that right?
That's
right
the
now?
current code, correct.
And then 45 feet, so it's adding 10 feet. Is that, can we touch those buildings?
So there are, go ahead, Jesse.
We can, but we have to, if those buildings are going to be touched, as of right now, with an interlocal agreement we have with the King County Historic Preservation Partnership, they are involved in the review process.
Okay, so it might be a possibility that could raise to 45, I'm sorry, to 40 feet, 45 feet, adding 10 feet, is that right?
The properties can be redeveloped, and it's what you guys choose on what they can be redeveloped to, whether it's only 35 feet or 45 feet. Either way, they would have to go through the historic preservation review.
Okay, well then I guess I can go ahead and read my thoughts, because I think I supported it, and then I didn't. I wondered what in the world I was doing with it, and was I doing the right thing? So regarding the 10 feet, and I'm just going to read my statement, and there you go. I've been giving this proposal serious thought, and I've gone back and forth on the proposed 10 feet. 10 feet is like, you know, the depth of a swimming pool or something. It doesn't seem to be that much, raising it 10 feet, but in my mind, I just got stuck on 10 feet. And I've come to the conclusion that the exterior integrity of these properties within this area should remain at 35 feet. Why? Simply put, when we alter these properties, we no longer have an historic property, an historic district. This is our historic district. This is the pictures that we see of early North Bend, that we see right now, that have carried through all these years. And it's the one we see in photos of our town. We are the stewards of keeping this historic district intact for our next generations. And I would like to see it at 35.
Hold up, stop it. Hold on a second. Let me mute while she barks at the family.
I finished. Did you hear it all, or did you need to hear the last piece again?
I think we heard it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, who's next?
This is Commissioner Bush. I actually echo Judy, and because of the results of that survey taken in August of 2020, where the vast majority of people they valued mountain views, and then seeing the artist's rendering and how much that obscured the mountain views, it also makes me want to keep it at 35 feet.
For clarification, do you mean within the historic district or within the areas that are shown for 45 feet, which is currently what is allowed?
Within the historic district.
Okay.
So Commissioner Moe here, I also am standing in agreement with keeping it at 35 feet for the historic district. I feel like the people in this town have spoken. They've said it lots of different times. They don't want to see building heights increase. And I feel like by increasing density and increasing the building heights, we're just asking a lot right now at one time.
Okay, Commissioner Torgerson.
Yeah, so yeah, I can see keeping the historic district at 35 feet. I think what I brought up at the last meeting was that they were going to downgrade some of the properties that were currently at 45 feet. And I felt that we should not downgrade any property owners' height. I mean, it needs to stay at the 45 feet for those people. I'm actually thinking that we should increase the height in the rest of the downtown area. And here's my thinking is we don't have any parking. And it would be sure nice if they can lift all those buildings up and have underground parking. And at the same time, with the form codes, being able to have setbacks so you have more visibility of the mountain. I mean, if we don't plan, then we're going to end up in a worse place in the future. So I feel like we need to figure out more parking if we want to invite more people to come downtown. I feel like the density issue, I'm not sure who was saying that we shouldn't have more density and what their purpose is, because I'm also hearing a lot of people wanting to have more low-income housing availability. They complain about that. I mean, everyone complains about that. But if you don't increase your density, you're not going to be able to fix that problem. And so it's like, we do need to plan, we do need to grow, and we do need to have housing for low-income housing people in our area, and we just aren't solving that. And I think it's great that we're doing the form-based codes. I think that that's a new, interesting way of doing building codes. I think a lot of cities are doing that nowadays. And it talks about addressing the low-income housing, but I don't see adding only 2 units to an acre as being addressing that the housing issues. So I think, while we are talking about doing this form-based codes, I think we're kidding ourselves if we think it's really going to improve the low-income housing problem that we have. So it's going to make the downtown area look nicer. I think that's great. I think it's going to look more appealing, but we do need to address having more parking, and we do need to figure out how to actually solve the low-income housing instead of we're kind of putting a Band-Aid on something that's more like, it's a hydrant and that's not going to work. So that's what my opinion is.
Okay. And then I would be in favor of leaving the building heights as they currently are. So basically leave it at 35 feet in the historic area and then leave the 45 feet where we currently have it. I was actually kind of surprised with the renderings that were done, how the existing 35-foot height limit in the historic area, if certain buildings got built up to that 35 feet, maybe even 30 feet, how much of the view of Mount Si would be impaired or totally blocked, which sort of makes sense because of the angle of view from the opposite side of the street where these images were taken from. I'm not going to propose lowering the height limit in the historic core, but just I think we need to be aware that even if we don't do anything to the height limit, that if somebody wanted to rebuild, that there is, like where the brewery is, there's a chance that our current view of Mount Si from that area would be blocked. So
one thought, just to throw it out there, is although it may not help, but we could look at making in the historic district a step back requirement within the 35 feet too. So it won't, as you can see from the images, that step back helps, but not, it's, but it only raises that view shed a little bit with the step back. So it's a thought.
How deep are those properties on the north side of North Bend Way? Is there I think that might have been asked a couple meetings ago. I know the Chevy dealer is pretty deep, but like the brewery and the real estate office, those seem to be pretty thin where you might, unless properties were combined, the step back wouldn't have any impact. You couldn't get far enough back. That's my point.
I can take some measurements if you have a moment.
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, we can come back to that. I was just curious. Then the next question obviously would be, would a step back even matter? And that might be something you can't answer tonight.
Well, that was actually a part of the exhibit, wasn't it? The visual height exhibit had included a setback.
Yeah, so it had the step back at 45, so it gives you a little bit of an idea that if it was 10 feet shorter about how much higher 10 feet step back would be, you know, in comparison. But obviously we didn't do a step back at like anything higher than 25 feet or anything like that. So
Yeah. So what you're suggesting is maybe thinking of a step back at, so make 35 feet the maximum, but maybe have a step back at 25 or 30 feet. Is that?
Yeah, and I'm saying that's something you guys can think about if you're concerned still about the historic district and the views. It would still leave the height at 35 feet, but
Yeah.
you could require, even if it's maybe not a full step back that we have in the other areas, but maybe a 5-foot step back, just so it gives it a little variation and a little bit of not a direct impact right from the street.
So Scott, just taking a measurement there of the brewery, for example, that is looks like about 85 feet is the depth of that lot.
Yeah, I got a between 45 and 90 feet on the different parcels. Most of them seem to be around 60 feet.
Okay. Sorry, I'm looking at those images real quick. It's 35.
We could screen share them if that makes it easier for the commission to all look at it at once.
Yeah, let's do that.
You want to do that?
Yeah, that'd be really helpful.
Okay. I'll say that I think the view of Mount Si that we currently have from the historic area is, for visitors we have coming to town, that's what makes North Bend, that's one of the things that makes North Bend special, is to see the mountain. I mean, it's a glorious thing to see. We see it every day, right? That it's not fogged in. But for people who are coming over from skiing, or people who are coming to visit the falls and then coming to North Bend, I mean, that you don't see everywhere. And I think that the more we can protect it, I think we're doing the community a service with that. But I also understand the need to allow enough height to have redevelopment, should that be something that needs to happen.
You know, I agree. It is, however, what we're discussing is specific block that's a historic district. So,
yeah,
you know, I don't see necessarily something, it's a combination benefit of, you know, historic buildings heights that are out there now, and preserving the views in that area.
Right.
You know, right now it's a 25-foot step back. In other areas it could be something, you know, a little, that 10-foot step back from the property line. It doesn't have to be the full 25 either. You know, we're open to different options within the historic district.
Yeah.
Were there any images that we should pause at? I could just keep rolling through them.
And this one's probably a good one, Jesse, to go to, because this one's one of the taller ones of existing buildings. So it doesn't say exactly how tall this building is, but if you go back to that one, you know, it looks, if you take the 9, it looks like maybe just over 10 feet or 15 feet tall.
And I think there, a step back isn't going to make that much difference.
It would just make that higher, where that 35, it would make it shorter, because from the angle, the step back it wouldn't cover as much. But it's just a sample of a taller building versus a shorter building. You're right. A step back in this scenario probably wouldn't not block the building, but it gives you an idea of the improvements in other images.
But from another vantage point, it might help.
Exactly. Anyone need anything else? You want to continue with these, going to another image, or?
Yeah, let's look at that one in particular. I think that's kind of the money shot.
Right.
Now, one thing to keep in mind with our bulk and dimensional standards is we require massing multiple massings if a building is over 10,000 square feet. So that there would be a bit more, I guess.
It's not going to look like a Costco.
Yeah.
Right, right.
It had
It's not
variation in
gonna
the
be a
roof.
big
Yeah.
box. Yeah, and I'd like to make that clear because I've had issues with drawings like these in my past where people construe a drawing like this, that this is not what a building would look like. Definitely not. It's just trying to give us some idea of what the height limit is in proportion to the angles and the view and the property lines and whatnot.
Yep.
Yeah, this is so this is a result of my I'm wanting to give the Planning Commission some tools to work with, but yet also kind of stretching our architects to crank something out really fast that doesn't it's there could have been a lot more time spent on it, but there's also project budget in mind, and so this was kind of like the compromise.
Right.
I have a question.
Yeah, I was going to ask what commissioners thought about this particular view.
Well, I wasn't going to answer that question.
Well, and anything you want to say.
We want people to come downtown. We want them to be able to walk around. We want them to be able to see the mountain that we all love. If we had like the buildings on East North Bend Way, a certain height restriction, but the ones that were behind them, if they were taller, I believe that I'm guessing that they would not affect our view from East North Bend Way.
So the further away you go, the less impact for the buildings at that height from the same vantage point.
Right. So if I don't know if this is a good idea or not, I'm just throwing it out there, but if we were to make just along East North Bend Way, have it at the 35-foot, and then the next block over, they could be taller, so you'd have more density, that kind of thing.
And I think that's what it is. Jesse, if you could go to that page that's got the height limits.
Yeah, I was gonna say in the historic district, there's only about 3 lots that don't front North Bend Way.
So right now we're only talking about the historic, or are we talking about all of downtown?
Oh, we're open to talk about anything in this document. It was just our main conversation had been around the height in the historic district. That's why I was referencing that.
Right. Okay.
And also the direction we had from you guys from the last one is you didn't want to reduce the heights on any people who could go 45. So
exactly.
But we're open to new discussion. Absolutely.
So this is the current allowed building heights, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, this is Judy. I'm calling in.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Judy.
I lost everything. I think my computer froze up and the iPad did too. So I'm on the phone now.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys.
Technology.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So I think where we were, correct me if I'm wrong, that the majority of commissioners were in favor of keeping the 35-foot maximum height limit in the historic district.
That's correct. Everyone said 35 feet in the historic
district. That's what I thought. Okay. But what about outside? What about using the map that Jesse has on the screen right now? Are we okay with the proposed heights? Well, these are the current heights. Are we okay with leaving these the way they are?
I hate taking away what people already have as far as their property rights.
Right.
But maybe like what Rebecca was saying is doing some sort of setbacks to be able to help with the views and that kind of thing might be helpful.
So just to clarify, Susan, the drawing you're seeing right now won't take anything away from anybody.
Right.
Yeah. And that's
And
what
it
I was
has,
suggesting
and it
is,
currently requires a step back above 35.
right.
Okay, good.
Between 35 and 45, it has a step back, which is what the images showed you. It showed you a little bit of a step back before it went up to the 45, which is why it was a sliver smaller than it would have been if it was, you know, it would have been much bigger in those images if it was 45 at the property line.
Okay.
Okay, any other thoughts on height? It sounds like we might all be on the same page, which is what Jesse is showing. So to just leave the height limits as they currently are.
Okay.
That's correct.
Correct? Okay.
Yes.
That's what we'll move into the document for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Just for total clarification, as you say, keep height limits as they are. Is as they are the same as what is proposed in the regulations?
So the current public hearing included going to 45 in the historic district, but your recommendation is to move it back to 35 in the historic district. So we'll update the regulating plan to show just this first map that Jesse's showing.
Correct.
Okay.
So in that case, what it represents is no change from the existing condition.
Correct.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. So if we're done with that, let's talk about uses. Your question was, did we have any questions on the permitted use, prohibited use issue, right?
Correct. So there was some conversation about concerns regarding nuisances, prohibited uses, allowable uses. So we did directly address the nuisance and the prohibited uses to make additional clarification. But we also heard, I believe from the chairman at the time, that he had a little concern over the allowable use being so generic as well and not just listing them out. And so we do have the option to just go back and reference the municipal code allowable use chart for this zone, or incorporating it into the regulating document, one or the other. And so we just want to make sure if you're comfortable with what we proposed or if you want to see something else.
Okay, commissioners, any thoughts on that? I guess I'll ask the question a different way. Are you okay with what staff proposed in the packet we got?
This is Commissioner Blanco, and I'm okay with what they've proposed.
Yeah. Yeah,
Commissioner
Commissioner Bell,
Moe?
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Yeah, me as well.
Commissioner Torgerson, Commissioner Bush?
Yes, I'm okay with what they proposed as well.
I am too.
Okay, so am I.
Okay, the last comment I wanted to make, I noticed as I was going through this to prepare for the meeting, both designations within the regulating plan has a section regarding encroachments into the setback for balconies, bay windows, and eaves. Staff is recommending removing the encroachments that refer to the front setback or the street setback because those are already at 0. So we don't want any encroachment into the right of way. So our recommendation is to clean that up and update it for the next meeting as well. And so I just wanted to throw that out there and make sure you guys were okay with that.
Sounds good to Commissioner Blanco.
I have a question.
That would be like, no, yeah.
Yeah, yes. Since there is a 0 setback, would we ever want to have like a Juliet balcony or something on the front of the building just for some articulation?
So we allow up to a 10-foot setback. So if they wanted to do that, they
Oh.
would set the building back and then have the articulation to the 0 line. We wouldn't want any, there is possible liability when you start putting their property and their building in the right of way. And
Okay.
so most of the time I've always recommended that we don't, you know, other than urgent circumstances like COVID and seating, you know, that we're dealing with, we don't standardize putting stuff in the right of way as a matter of practice without special agreements and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard to do on a balcony if, you know, Public Works needs the balcony removed so they can do some work on the street that requires the balcony to be removed for some reason.
Right.
It's easier with a bunch of tables, you know,
Exactly.
sitting on a sidewalk. So, okay. All right, so we okay with that? Commissioners? All right,
Okay.
Yeah.
sounds good.
And those were the
That's
main
it.
topics. So unless there's anything else in the document you'd like to address or bring up, I don't have anything else to ask.
Yeah, anything else, commissioners, that you'd like, you have questions on, or you have comments on that you've had a chance to think over? We'll also have a chance next week to talk this through. While maybe have the other commissioners who are absent tonight might have other comments and thoughts too.
I just had a comment on the table, and I think Commerce made a comment about the table of permitted and conditional uses, 1810-030. So it drew my attention to it. And just a comment to kind of make it more readable. And this is page 22 of the PDF, or page 6 out of 55.
So our proposal is to amend it just to reference this new section in the regulating plan.
Right. And that makes sense, but there's a reference to CLDR only in one of the columns under commercial. And I didn't know what that
What
acronym
page are you
was
on
for.
there? Was that on page 22?
It's on page 22 of the mailed packet, and page 6 out of 55 of the code.
So there's CLDR in a different section. It's not in the DC that we're referring to and working on. On that first page that I see, is there somewhere?
Oh, there's just, yeah.
You're
well,
talking about in the USOD, the Urban
Yeah.
Separated Overlay District. And that's saying that single family detached are only allowed in that CLDR portion of that overlay zone. So that means that single family would not be allowed in the neighborhood business portion of that overlay.
Okay.
So
I was
just to kind of
wondering
give you a heads up, one of the things that we're looking to do in the near future is to get rid of some of our overlays so that we can eliminate some of the confusions that those overlays cause in tables like this.
Okay.
Just to clarify on the Commerce comment in their letter, what they were referring to was the downtown commercial column. When I originally went in to strike the content in there to reference 1812, I just went into where there was where there were permitted and conditional uses, which meant I left some of the boxes blank. So what I did, how I addressed the comment was I went through and I just added C NBMC 1812 for everything.
Right.
So there wasn't any questions on why is this blank? Why? So now just if someone goes to look for anything on the downtown commercial zone in 1810, they see that it's referencing another section.
Yeah. Okay. And my comment was to maybe include the CLDR in the key on the upper left-hand corner where you have P for permitted use and CDP for conditional use permit. Just for quick reference, because I looked at it and I was like, I wasn't sure what CLDR was, but if you could include it in the key on the upper left-hand corner.
Yeah, it might make sense on the key to include all the zones in one key above, maybe, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
That's something we can look at in the future with cleanup of the code. I wouldn't necessarily want to adjust a code that's not related to this right now, but I can definitely put it in our to-do list as we clean up different sections. If that makes sense and you guys are okay with that.
Thanks. That was it.
Okay, any other comments or questions from commissioners? Okay. Well, if you think of anything, get in touch with staff. If something comes up tomorrow and you all of a sudden realize it, go ahead and send an email to staff, and we will look forward to getting whatever cleaned up version or additional version you're going to get us for our next meeting in March. And at that point, you will be looking for action from the commission, and we'll take it from there. Okay. Well, thank you to members of the public who joined us tonight. You are more than welcome to dial in or Zoom in. Attend our meetings virtually the second and fourth Thursdays of the month. If you don't have anything better to do, it's a great way to spend your Thursday nights. And with that, I'm going to go back up to our agenda. And it looks like that's all we have. So do I hear a motion to adjourn our meeting? Well, actually, before I do that, staff, anything else not having to do with form-based code, any other updates or
Yeah, actually,
you have for us?
Rebecca, I don't recall if we provided the Planning Commission kind of a summary of what the council's direction or conversation was on the medium density residential effort. Did you guys hear that previously?
No.
So,
Refresh
so
our
the-
memory.
Yeah, I'll be happy to do an update. So the MDR did go to the city council and they did table it. We kind of expect, which is one of the reasons we'd like you to go to the workshop, so council can both ask you questions about how this public hearing does. We although it's not on the agenda, we kind of suspect that they're going to relate the MDR and the form-based code together, and so that might come up because it was discussed when MDR came up that they wanted to see the form-based codes, and so so that's another reason that we want you guys there, both so council can ask you about the form-based codes in the hearings and get your thoughts as they move forward, but also again, just a hunch that MDR may come up as well. If it doesn't, we were told that they would have another meeting to discuss if they want to bring it back on the agenda or not. So it's kind of tabled for now at the council, waiting for council to tell us to bring it back.
Do you know what time the work study is? Is it during the day? Is it in the evening?
It's at 7 p.m.
Okay.
And virtual, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
The other update I have is, although it's not on this agenda because it came up after I published, is I am working for the next meeting to bring a work program, the Planning Commission work program to you guys, as well as completing the docket procedures on items we foresee for comprehensive and development code amendments for this year. So you guys will take a look at that and make the recommendation to council for the docket on those amendments, and then we would come back and be able to and start working on those items.
Okay. And then we have election of chair and vice chair at our next meeting. Okay,
Correct.
so I'll just let all of you know I'm not going to seek the vice chair position again. So that's open. And I don't know if Gary is going to seek chair. I don't think so, but he'll have to mention that. And nor am I, by the way. So.
Oh, I thought you were hinting you were going to try and take the chair.
No. We have let's see here, 3 new commissioners since I got on the commission, so we'll give some other folks a chance.
Will you guys notify us when our term is up? Too? Do we usually get like a little heads up?
Yeah, so our city clerk, Susie Obadal, always kind of keeps track of the calendar of whose terms are at what point. And then when it's like 6 months ahead of time, she'll make sure to ask you guys, do you want to seek renewal of another term?
Okay. Thanks.
It is also posted on our website under the Planning Commission page.
Right. And is anybody, do you have that open right now?
I just did open it, yes.
I was wondering if it was there. Is anybody's position up this year? I don't think so.
No, the closest ones are May 2022.
Yeah, which is, I'm up then, and I know there's others, so,
Yes.
okay. All right, anything else from staff? Anything from commissioners?
Commissioner Blanco just has a couple of things that I would like to, I'd like to acknowledge the staff for all their hard work on this proposal, this proposed form-based code. It certainly was new to me. I'd never really heard of it before, and I'm impressed with it. And it's certainly for our downtown commercial zone. In particular, Jesse, thank you so much for all your work on this. I know everybody's involved in this, but I'll give you a nod on that one for sure. And then in our packet, on page 11 is the letter from the, what is it, State of Washington, Department of Commerce, Kristen something, I've got it right here. Anyway, I thought her comments that they appreciated that North Bend took the opportunity to use this grant to create a new code. It's a lot of work, obviously. And that the form-based code is consistent with North Bend's desired character for the downtown area and contribute to allowing more housing options for our community. And then she does go on to say that the proposed things, a code change will work with our design options, works in the historic district consideration, and also considers open spaces. And I think that's what we really, we all care about that. So I just want to thank you for your hard work and getting the grant and putting us to task to decipher it with you and see how we can implement it as well. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you for mentioning that. Okay. All right. Anything else? If not, is there a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
Commissioner Torgerson motions to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Is there a second?
This is Commissioner Bush. I second.
Great. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right. Tonight's meeting is adjourned at 8:08 p.m. Thank you all, and we'll
Thank you.
see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thanks, staff.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.